There is a community in Texas called Cameron Park, just outside Brownsville, that a University of Texas study identified using a strict statistical definition when as the poorest place in the entire United States. Median household income is around $17,000 a year, nearly 6,000 residents, no incorporated city government, and it sits inside Cameron County, which is itself the poorest county in the country. Texas is supposed to be cowboy boots, oil money, Tesla's new headquarters, and barbecue that costs $40 a plate in Austin. But what the Texas Tourism Board does not put on the brochure is the other Texas, the one where entire settlements called colonias were sold as empty dirt lots with no water, no sewage, and no paved roads. And many still don't have them. The one where a county's median household income was once documented at $5,559 a year. The one where houses sell for $30,000, not because they're a bargain, but because that's what the market says life there is worth. These places are real, they're on Google Maps, and they're documented by the U.S. Census Bureau, the Texas Department of Housing and Community Affairs, and the Federal Reserve Bank of Dallas. And trust me, you are not ready for what's sitting at number 1. Let's break it down. Presidio is a small city of approximately 4,000 people in Presidio County, in the far west Texas Big Bend region, sitting directly on the Rio Grande across from Ojinaga, Mexico. Presidio County has been documented by 24/7 Wall Street's 2024 analysis of the poorest counties in Texas, with a median household income of approximately $29,012 and a poverty rate of approximately 23%, nearly 1 in 4 residents living below the federal poverty line. Presidio holds a specific climate distinction. It is one of the hottest places in Texas, with summer temperatures regularly exceeding 110 degrees Fahrenheit, and it has recorded some of the highest official temperatures in Texas history. The combination of extreme heat, geographic isolation, the nearest major city, El Paso, is over 200 miles away, and an economy historically dependent on agriculture and cross-border trade with Ojinaga produces a housing market where properties sell at prices that reflect the income data directly. $30,000 buys a real house in Presidio. Presidio County is enormous in land area and tiny in population, fewer than 7,000 people across thousands of square miles of Chihuahuan desert. The county has no major hospital. Specialist medical care requires travel to Midland, Odessa, or El Paso, each several hours away. The Big Bend region's beauty is genuinely extraordinary, drawing visitors to Big Bend National Park and Big Bend Ranch State Park. The economic reality for the people who live there year-round, documented in census data, is a different story from the tourism brochure. Presidio is far west Texas heat, isolation, and a documented 23% poverty rate. The next entry is the single poorest county in the entire state. Cenizo Springs is the county seat of Dimmit County in South Texas, about 60 miles south of Uvalde. Property Club's 2024 analysis of the poorest counties in Texas identifies Dimmit County as the single poorest county in the entire state, with a median household income of $27,374 and a poverty rate of 25.1%. The median home price for the county is documented at approximately $100,000, but individual properties in Cenizo Springs itself, particularly older housing stock away from the oil boom infrastructure, regularly transact at prices in the $30,000 to $40,000 range. Dimmit County had a strange economic roller coaster during the Eagle Ford shale oil boom of the early 2010s, when Cenizo Springs briefly saw an influx of oil workers, temporary housing, and economic activity that drove up rents and created a temporary boomtown atmosphere. When the oil price collapse of 2014 to 2016 hit, much of that activity left as quickly as it arrived, leaving the underlying economic structure of the county, agriculture, ranching, limited permanent employment, largely unchanged beneath the boom and bust cycle. Cenizo Springs has approximately 5,500 people. The town has a courthouse, a few chain restaurants that arrived during the oil boom and mostly stayed, and a population whose median income, even after the boom, remains at the bottom of the Texas County table. The boom came and went. The county's position as the poorest in Texas did not change. Dimmit County is officially the poorest county in Texas, boom or no boom. The next entry is where the oil boom never arrived at all. Crystal City is a small city of approximately 7,000 people in Zavala County in South Texas, about 2 hours southwest of San Antonio. Zavala County has a median household income of approximately $49,243 and a poverty rate of 29.1% according to Property Club's 2024 county analysis, meaning nearly 3 in 10 residents live below the poverty line despite an income figure that looks less extreme than some neighboring counties. The median home price for Zavala County is documented at approximately $76,714, among the lowest in the state, with individual properties in Crystal City regularly selling for $30,000 or less. Crystal City calls itself the spinach capital of the world. The city erected a statue of Popeye in 1937 to celebrate its position as a major spinach growing and canning center, and the statue still stands today, predating the famous Popeye statue in Alma, Arkansas by decades. The spinach industry that gave Crystal City its identity has contracted significantly since its mid-20th century peak, and the agricultural economy that remains employs far fewer people at wages that have not kept pace with Texas's overall economic growth. Crystal City also has a specific and difficult history connected to World War II. It was the site of the Crystal City internment camp, where the US government detained Japanese, German, and Italian American families, including US citizens, during the war. That history is documented by the National Park Service and by academic researchers studying the internment camp system. The town that once housed an internment camp now has a median home price under $80,000 and a poverty rate approaching 30%, 2 different chapters of the same place's documented history. Crystal City has a Popeye statue, an internment camp history, and a 30% poverty rate. The next entry is further along the border, and the colonia conditions become explicit. Eagle Pass is a city of approximately 29,000 people in Maverick County, directly across the Rio Grande from Piedras Negras, Mexico. Maverick County has a median household income of approximately $48,497 and a poverty rate of 21.9%, according to Property Club's county analysis. The median home price for Maverick County is documented at approximately $187,000 at the county level, but this average masks enormous variation because Maverick County is also home to one of the largest concentrations of colonias in Texas, where individual lot and structure transactions occur at prices far below that county median, frequently in the $30,000 range and below. The Texas Department of Housing and Community Affairs has documented Maverick County as one of the original 6 counties, alongside El Paso, Webb, Starr, Hidalgo, and Cameron, covered in the Federal Reserve Bank of Dallas's major studies of colonia conditions. A 1990s study by the Texas Department of Health found that family incomes in Maverick County colonias averaged $7,631 annually at a time when the state median was over $16,000. Less than half. While infrastructure has improved significantly since the 1990s, with the state investing tens of millions of dollars in colonia water, sewer, and road projects, the housing stock itself in many of these communities remains the original self-built, substandard structures that defined the colonia model from the start. Eagle Pass became internationally known in 2023 and 2024 as a focal point of the US-Mexico border security debate, with the Texas National Guard's Operation Lone Star establishing a major presence in the city, including floating barriers in the Rio Grande that became the subject of federal litigation. The national political conversation about Eagle Pass rarely intersects with the median household income data for Maverick County, but both are facts about the same city at the same time. Eagle Pass is a national border security flashpoint sitting in a county where colonia incomes were once measured at half the state median. The next entry is the poorest single place in the entire United States. Cameron Park is an unincorporated community of approximately 5,900 people just outside Brownsville in Cameron County, the county that the U.S. Census Bureau has documented as having the lowest median household income of any county in the United States, with a population over 10,000. The Texas Politics Project at the University of Texas documented Cameron Park specifically, using a strict definition of place requiring at least 1,000 households, as the poorest place in the entire United States, with a median individual income of approximately $4,100 and a median household income of approximately $17,000. Cameron Park is a colonia that dates back to 1968. It has no incorporated city government. It is governed as an unincorporated community within Cameron County, meaning the infrastructure, law enforcement, and municipal services that an incorporated city would provide are instead the responsibility of county government, which has limited resources relative to the needs of a community this size. Housing in Cameron Park includes a mix of mobile homes, self-built structures, and conventional houses, and properties transact at prices that are consistent with a median household income of $17,000. $30,000 is, in Cameron Park, a meaningful sum of money relative to what most residents earn in a year and a half. Cameron County overall has a poverty rate that has been documented at approximately 34.5%, with a child poverty rate of 47%, the highest in Texas. Cameron Park is the specific, concentrated expression of what that county-level data means in one community. The Federal Reserve Bank of Dallas's ongoing work on Texas colonias has documented Cameron Park specifically as an example of how decades of infrastructure investment have improved water and sewer access, without resolving the underlying income and housing quality issues that defined the colonia from its founding. Cameron Park has been documented as the poorest place in America by a strict statistical definition. The next entry is the county seat that anchors the second poorest county in Texas. Rio Grande City is the county seat of Starr County, in the heart of the Rio Grande Valley. Starr County has been documented by the Texas Tribune's analysis of census data as the second poorest county in Texas, with 35.4% of its population living in poverty, more than 1 in 3 residents. The Texas Department of Housing and Community Affairs historical data on colonia family incomes recorded Starr County at $5,559 annually at one point in the 1990s, a figure that, even adjusted for the decades since, illustrates how severe the income gap in this county has historically been relative to the rest of Texas. Rio Grande City's current housing market tells a complicated story. Redfin's market data shows the median sale price across Starr County reaching approximately $257,000 in late 2025, a number that reflects newer construction and reflects the broader Rio Grande Valley housing market's recent growth. But the same market data shows individual older properties in Rio Grande City selling for dramatically less. A 2-bedroom, 1-bathroom house on East 4th Street sold for $49,500, and other listings in the $30,000 to $60,000 range appear regularly in the same market where new construction sells for 10 times that amount. The $30,000 house and the $300,000 house exist 3 streets apart in the same city. Starr County is overwhelmingly Hispanic, over 96%, and has one of the youngest median ages of any county in Texas, at approximately 28.7 years. The county's economy has historically depended on agriculture, government employment, and increasingly on its position along a major freight corridor connecting to Mexico. The poverty rate of 35% and the median age under 30 paint a picture of a young population growing up in a county where more than a third of households live below the federal poverty line. Rio Grande City has houses that range from $49,500 to $330,000 within the same zip code. The next entry is a smaller town in the same county with a different colonial era history. Roma is a small city of approximately 10,000 people in Starr County, on the Rio Grande, about 10 miles west of Rio Grande City. Roma has genuine historical significance. Its downtown historic district, with buildings dating to the Spanish colonial and Mexican periods of Texas history, was designated a National Historic Landmark District, and the town was used as a filming location for the 1952 Marlon Brando film Viva Zapata, because its architecture so authentically represented an early 20th century Mexican border town. Roma sits in the same Starr County economic context documented in the previous entry, a poverty rate of 35.4% county-wide, among the highest in Texas. Redfin listings for Roma show properties in the housing market at significantly varied price points. A 3-bedroom, 1-bathroom house on North Grant Street listed at $169,000, alongside older properties and lots that transact well below that figure, in the $30,000 to $50,000 range, particularly for housing St. that predates the more recent construction wave along the Starr County side of the valley. The historic core of Roma, the sandstone block buildings of its Spanish colonial era downtown, represents some of the best preserved early Texas-Mexico border architecture anywhere along the Rio Grande. The National Park Service has documented Roma's historic district as architecturally significant on a national level. That architectural significance exists in a town where the surrounding county's poverty rate is among the highest documented in the state, and where the same census data that the previous entry described applies with equal force to Roma's residents. Roma has national historic landmark architecture, and Starr County's 35% poverty rate in the same town. The next entry is in the county the Census Bureau ranks as having America's lowest median household income. Raymondville is the county seat of Willacy County, just north of the Brownsville-Harlingen metro area in the Rio Grande Valley. Willacy County has been documented by the Texas Tribune's analysis of census poverty estimates as having the highest poverty rate of any county in Texas, with a population over 10,000, 38.8% of residents living in poverty, and a child poverty rate of 45.9%, the second highest in the state. Willacy County has a population of approximately 22,000 people. Raymondville's economy has historically been agricultural. Cotton, grain sorghum, and vegetable farming have defined Willacy County for generations. The county also had, for a period, a significant presence from the Willacy County Correctional Center, a privately operated federal detention facility that was one of the county's larger employers until it closed in 2015, following a documented inmate uprising in 2015 that was covered by national media and resulted in the facility's permanent closure. The closure removed a significant source of county revenue and employment from a county that was already among the poorest in Texas. Housing in Raymondville and the surrounding Willacy County reflects the county's documented economic position. Properties in the $30,000 to $50,000 range are part of the standard local market, not outliers. The combination of agricultural employment that has not kept pace with statewide wage growth, the loss of the detention facility as an economic anchor, and the broader Rio Grande Valley poverty patterns documented across this entire region produces a housing market where $30,000 buys a real standing house with a real address. Willacy County has Texas's highest poverty rate for a county its size and lost its largest employer in 2015. The next entry is in the county the Census Bureau has specifically flagged for its under $25,000 median income. San Benito is a city of approximately 24,000 people in Cameron County, about 25 miles northeast of Brownsville. Cameron County, as established earlier in this video, has been documented as having one of the lowest median household incomes of any county in the United States, under $25,000 in census analyses that specifically flagged Cameron and Hidalgo counties as the only two counties in the entire country at that income level for a sustained period. San Benito has a specific cultural distinction. It is the birthplace of Freddie Fender, the Tejano and rock and roll musician known for hits including Wasted Days and Wasted Nights and Before the Next Teardrop Falls. The city has embraced this heritage. There is a Freddie Fender memorial, and the city has hosted commemorative events celebrating his legacy. That cultural pride exists alongside a city where the housing market, consistent with Cameron County's documented income data, includes properties that sell at the $30,000 price point as a routine feature of the local market rather than an anomaly. San Benito's position in Cameron County means it shares the county's documented 34.5% poverty rate and 47% child poverty rate, the highest child poverty rate of any county in Texas. The Rio Grande Valley's agricultural economy, the seasonal nature of much of its employment, and the demographic reality of a young, rapidly growing, predominantly Hispanic population in a county with limited high-wage employment opportunities all contribute to the income data that defines San Benito's housing market. San Benito gave America Freddie Fender and sits in the county with the highest child poverty rate in Texas. The next entry is the agricultural heart of the same valley. Edcouch is a small city of approximately 3,200 people in Hidalgo County, in the heart of the Rio Grande Valley between McAllen and Harlingen. Hidalgo County is the largest county in the nation with a total fertility rate above replacement level, with a population of over 870,000 people. In Property Club's 2024 county analysis documents a median household income of approximately $49,371 and a poverty rate of 27.4%, with a child poverty rate of 45.5%. Edcouch is one of the smaller incorporated cities within Hidalgo County's dense network of Rio Grande Valley municipalities. The valley here is not a collection of isolated rural towns, but a nearly continuous urbanized corridor of small cities, each with its own municipal government, school district, and local identity, but sharing the economic conditions that the county-level data documents. Edcouch Elsa Independent School District, which serves Edcouch and the neighboring city of Elsa, has a student population where the overwhelming majority qualify for free or reduced price lunch under federal poverty guidelines, a direct measurable indicator of the income level of the families the district serves. Housing in Edcouch follows the pattern documented across smaller Hidalgo County municipalities. Older housing stock, much of it modest single-family homes built decades ago, transacts at prices in the $30,000 to $60,000 range, while newer construction in the same county can sell for several times that amount. The contrast between Edcouch's older neighborhoods and the newer subdivisions being built elsewhere in rapidly growing Hidalgo County is one of the clearest visual expressions of the income inequality that the county-level poverty statistics describe in numbers. Edcouch sits in a county where almost half of children live in poverty according to census data. The next entry is where the Rio Grande Valley meets the Gulf of Mexico. Port Isabel is a small city of approximately 5,000 people in Cameron County, on the Laguna Madre across from South Padre Island. It has a genuinely beautiful setting. The Port Isabel Lighthouse, built in 1852, is a Texas state historic site and one of the most recognizable landmarks on the Texas Gulf Coast, and the city serves as the gateway to South Padre Island's beach tourism economy via the Queen Isabella Causeway. Despite its location next to one of Texas's most visited beach destinations, Port Isabel sits within Cameron County's documented economic reality, a poverty rate of approximately 34.5% countywide. The shrimping industry that historically defined Port Isabel's economy has contracted significantly over recent decades, affected by fuel costs, foreign competition, and environmental regulations that, while often necessary, have reduced the economic viability of small independent shrimping operations that once supported much of the local workforce. The contrast between Port Isabel and South Padre Island, separated by a causeway and an enormous gap in median income and property values, is one of the starkest in coastal Texas. South Padre Island's beachfront condominiums sell for prices that are entirely disconnected from Port Isabel's housing market, where older homes in the city's historic core transact at prices in the $30,000 to $50,000 range. The lighthouse that tourists photograph and the housing market that the city's residents navigate are separated by a few blocks and an enormous economic distance. Port Isabel is the gateway to South Padre Island and shares none of its wealth. The next entry takes us inland to the colonia capital of Texas. El Cenizo is a small city of approximately 3,300 people in Webb County, just south of Laredo on the Rio Grande. El Cenizo holds a specific distinction in the documented history of Texas colonias. A 1997 study by the Texas Department of Housing and Community Affairs' Office of Colonia Initiatives, titled A Study of the People of El Cenizo, Texas, used the community as a detailed case study of colonia conditions, making El Cenizo one of the most academically documented colonias in the state. El Cenizo was incorporated as a city in 1989, which gave it access to municipal funding and infrastructure programs that unincorporated colonias do not have. Despite incorporation, the community has continued to be documented in poverty research as one of the economically poorest municipalities in Texas, with Webb County's overall poverty rate running significantly above the state average and El Cenizo sitting at the lower end of even that county's income distribution. Webb County, where El Cenizo sits, has a median age age of approximately 28.3 years, among the youngest in Texas, reflecting the same demographic patterns seen across the border counties on this list. Young, rapidly growing, predominantly Hispanic populations in counties where wage growth has not matched population growth. El Cenizo's housing stock includes a significant proportion of older, self-built, and modest manufactured housing, with properties transacting at prices that the 1997 TDHCA study and subsequent research have documented as consistent with median incomes far below the Texas state figure. El Cenizo is one of the most studied colonias in Texas, and incorporation didn't change its economic position. The next entry is Laredo's own documented poverty story. Laredo is a city of approximately 260,000 people in Webb County, on the Rio Grande directly across from Nuevo Laredo, Mexico. And it is the largest land port in the United States by trade volume, with billions of dollars in freight crossing the World Trade Bridge and other Laredo border crossings every year. Laredo is, by trade volume, one of the most economically significant cities on the entire US-Mexico border. It is also a city where the South Texas region's Comptroller Economic Data documents a median age of approximately 28.3 years, and where poverty rates run significantly above the Texas state average, despite, or perhaps because of, the enormous freight economy that passes through without necessarily employing the city's residents at wages that match that economic activity. The freight economy that defines Laredo's regional significance is largely a transit economy: trucks, customs brokers, warehousing, and logistics. It generates enormous trade value, but does not necessarily generate proportionate local wage growth, particularly for residents without the specific skills that the logistics and customs sectors require. Laredo's older residential neighborhoods, particularly those closer to the river and away from the newer development on the city's east side, include housing stock that transacts at prices in the $30,000 to $50,000 range. Older homes, some originally built without full infrastructure connections in neighborhoods that have colonia-adjacent histories. Webb County's poverty rate has been documented in multiple census analyses as running above the state average, and the combination of a young population, a transit-dominated economy, and historic colonia development on the city's outskirts produces the housing market conditions that this video has been documenting across the entire Rio Grande Valley and border region. Laredo is, in trade terms, one of the most important cities on the entire US-Mexico border. In income terms, it shares the documented challenges of the border counties around it. Laredo moves more freight than almost anywhere on the US border, and the wages haven't followed the trade volume. The next entry is where the valley's poverty concentrates most severely. Progreso is a small city of approximately 5,500 people in Hidalgo County, on the Rio Grande at the Progreso International Bridge crossing into Nuevo Progreso, Mexico. Progreso sits within Hidalgo County's documented economic profile, a 27.4% poverty rate and a 45.5% child poverty rate, among the highest in Texas. Nuevo Progreso on the Mexican side has historically been a destination for medical and dental tourism, Americans crossing for significantly cheaper prescription medications, dental work, and medical procedures, a cross-border economic relationship that reflects the specific economics of a region where healthcare costs on the US side are out of reach for many residents. Progreso Independent School District serves a student population where the overwhelming majority of students qualify for free and reduced lunch programs under federal poverty guidelines, a pattern consistent with Edcouch, Elsa, and other small Hidalgo County school districts documented earlier in this video. Housing in Progreso includes older residential stock that transacts at prices in the $30,000 to $40,000 range, consistent with the income data for the surrounding area. The specific irony of Progreso, a town whose name means progress in Spanish, sitting in a county with some of the highest documented poverty rates in Texas, next to a Mexican border town that exists partly because American healthcare and pharmaceutical prices are unaffordable for many Valley residents, is one of those details that doesn't require embellishment. It simply is what it is, and it's documented in the same census data that has run through this entire video. Progreso means progress and sits in one of the most economically challenged counties in Texas. The next entry is where colonia conditions were first documented as Third World in an academic study's actual title. Los Fresnos is a city of approximately 8,000 people in Cameron County, between Brownsville and the Laguna Madre. Los Fresnos sits in the immediate vicinity of some of the colonias documented in a 1993 academic study with a title that does not require interpretation: Third World Colonias, Lower Rio Grande Valley, published by researchers Holtz and Davies through the University of Texas School of Public Affairs. Hat title: published over 30 years ago by academic researchers in an official university publication, is the origin of the framing that gives this entire video series its name. This is not a YouTube exaggeration. It is the language that public policy researchers used in print to describe documented conditions in this specific part of Texas. Cameron County's documented 34.5% poverty rate applies to Los Fresnos as it does to San Benito, Port Isabel, and Cameron Park, covered earlier in this video. The 1993 Third World Colonia study documented conditions including the absence of running water, inadequate sewage disposal, unpaved roads that became impassable during rain events, and housing constructed without permits or inspections. Conditions that the Texas Department of Housing and Community Affairs has spent the subsequent 3 decades and tens of millions of dollars working to address, with documented but partial success. Housing in and around Los Fresnos includes properties that transact at the $30,000 price point that this entire video has been documenting. Older Colonia-era construction, manufactured homes on owned land, and modest single-family structures that reflect the income realities of Cameron County's poorest residents. The academic language from 1993, Third World Colonias, was not hyperbole when it was written. The census data 30 years later suggests the underlying economic conditions, while improved in infrastructure terms, have not been resolved in income terms. Los Fresnos sits in the area that gave this entire topic its academic name 3 decades ago. The next entry is where the original colonia model began. Combs is a small city of approximately 3,000 people in Cameron County, near Harlingen in the Rio Grande Valley. Combs represents one of the original colonia-adjacent communities documented in the earliest Texas Department of Housing and Community Affairs, reporting on the colonia phenomenon. Communities where, starting roughly in the 1950s, developers subdivided agricultural land that had little value for farming into small residential lots, sold with minimal or no infrastructure to low-income buyers, often recent immigrants or first-generation Mexican-American families, who were promised affordable home ownership and received in many cases a deed to a plot of land with no water connection, no sewer connection, and no paved road. The TDHCA's background documentation on colonias describes this pattern explicitly. Developers acquired land that was worthless or unused for agriculture, divided it into small lots, and sold it without basic facilities, water, sewerage, electricity, paved streets, sidewalks, to buyers who built their own housing, often incrementally as money became available. This is the origin story of dozens of communities across Cameron, Hidalgo, Willacy, Starr, Maverick, Webb, and El Paso counties, the same counties that have appeared throughout this video. Combs and similar small Cameron County communities have seen documented infrastructure improvements since the 1990s. The Federal Reserve Bank of Dallas's Las Colonias in the 21st century report found that by 2014, an additional 286 colonias across the 6 major border counties had gained access to drinkable water, adequate drainage, wastewater disposal, paved roads, and legal plats compared to 2006. But the report also notes explicitly that a colonia having infrastructure access does not mean its housing stock is in good condition. The original self-built structures often remain, infrastructure improvements notwithstanding, and the median household income across all Texas colonias remains documented at approximately $28,928 compared to the Texas state median of approximately $50,920. Combs is where the colonia model began, and the income gap from that model has never closed. The next entry is the city most associated with the term colonia itself. Donna is a city of approximately 16,000 people in Hidalgo County, between McAllen and Mission in the heart of the Rio Grande Valley. Donna and its surrounding unincorporated colonias have been documented extensively in Federal Reserve Bank of Dallas research on Texas colonia conditions. The area is part of the dense network of colonias that exist within and adjacent to Hidalgo County's smaller incorporated cities, where the line between the city and the colonia next to the city is often a matter of municipal boundary lines buildings rather than any visible difference in the housing stock or infrastructure on either side of that line. Hidalgo County's documented 27.4% poverty rate and 45.5% child poverty rate apply to Donna as they do to Edcouch and Progreso. The Texas Department of Housing and Community Affairs ongoing colonia infrastructure programs have specifically targeted Hidalgo County communities, including those in and around Donna, for water, wastewater, and road improvements funded through state bond programs and federal community development block grant allocations. Housing in Donna and its surrounding colonias includes the full range documented across this video. Manufactured homes on owned lots, self-built single-family structures expanded incrementally over years or decades as families could afford materials and a smaller stock of conventionally built and financed homes. The $30,000 price point is squarely within the range of what the older, self-built portion of this housing stock transacts for, and it represents, for many families in Donna, a genuinely significant financial asset relative to a median household income that the county-level data places well below $30,000 for a meaningful share of residents. Donna is the dense colonia heartland of Hidalgo County. Number 1 is the community that will completely blow your mind. We have San Ygnacio, a place that feels less like modern Texas and more like a forgotten chapter of its history. Founded in the 1800s along the Rio Grande, San Ygnacio is one of the oldest communities in South Texas. Walking through town, you'll find stone buildings, narrow streets, and historic structures that have survived wars, border conflicts, and generations of change. But despite its rich history, economic opportunity never arrived here in the same way it did in larger Texas cities. San Ygnacio sits in Zapata County, where roughly 38% of residents live below the poverty line, one of the highest rates in the state. Many younger residents leave in search of jobs, contributing to a gradual population decline. The result is a housing market that remains remarkably affordable compared to most of Texas. In a state where six-figure home prices are becoming the norm, properties in and around San Ygnacio can still appear at prices that seem frozen in another decade. The town's isolation is part of the story. Healthcare options are limited, with residents often relying on facilities outside the community. Employment opportunities are concentrated in government, education, ranching, and a handful of local businesses. Yet many locals wouldn't trade it. They enjoy a slower pace of life, strong family ties, and a deep connection to the region's Hispanic heritage. San Ygnacio is proof that some of Texas's cheapest housing isn't found in booming suburbs or trendy small towns. It's found in places where history is abundant, but economic growth never quite caught up. If this video showed you a Texas you didn't know existed, subscribe, drop your perspective in the comments. If you're from the Rio Grande Valley and we got something wrong or missed something important, tell us. See you in the next one.